Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Muhammad bin Hakim bin Hamid. My metric number is A22A0907. Today, I'm going to answer case study 1, which is Malaysia GDP to moderate to 4.2% in 2003 ongoing external risks. Alright, we move to the question number 1, which is the importance of calculating national income with the example, which answer should be related to the case. Alright. National income evaluation is crucial for assessing a nation's performance and overall economic state. In the case of Malaysia, understanding the forecast 4.2% GDP growth in 2003 provide insight into the country's economic trajectory. This information aids corporation, investors, and legislators in decision making. Monitoring GDP growth allows policymakers to proactively manage economic challenges and implement effective policies. Now we move to the question number 2. How the economic sector are important to support the economic growth? Alright. Economic sector, including infrastructure, manufacturing, services, and natural resources, play a pivotal role in driving and sustaining overall growth. Well-developed infrastructure promotes a trade and investment, lowering prices and attracting investment. The competitive manufacturing sector fosters innovation, productivity, and economic diversification. The services industry contribute significantly to GDP through foreign investment, job creation, and added value. Natural resources, especially in agriculture, bolster export revenue, enhancing economic resilience. Alright, now we in the question number 3. At the last paragraph, explain how the government can solve the economic problems occurred at the time. Alright. In addressing economic challenges, the government utilized fiscal and monetary policies. Fiscal policies involve changes to taxation and spending impacting aggregate demand. For instance, constructionary fiscal strategies like cutting spending combat rising inflation. The central bank (BNM) manage monetary policy, utilizing instruments like interest rate to stimulate growth and control inflation. Policies on the supply side, such as infrastructure expansion and incentive for innovation, contribute to economic growth. This combination allows the government to navigate and handle economic issues effectively. Alright, last but not least, we in the last question of case study 1. Okay. Using examples, explain two limitations of GDP measurement. Alright. Limitation number 1 is GDP measurement exclude transaction in the informal economy, leading to underestimation of economic activity. Unreported income and activity in small-scale form of informal markets may not be fully recorded. And limitation number 2 is GDP fails to reveal wealth distribution, potentially concealing social injustice. And economic progress concentrate in one group may result in differences in the standard of living among various demographic segments, impacting the general well-being of citizens. An increase in GDP alone might be not adequately represent overall societal well-being.
Assalamualaikum. I'm Nur Zulaika binti Muhammad Kamil. My metric number is A22A0409. I'd like to present about case study 2. For the first question, according to the case study, Malaysia's national income depends to a great degree on private consumption expenditure. Should consumer spending continue to rise, on the other hand, it could lead to a higher demand for goods and services, as illustrated by the increasing footfall and plans for expansion at Maidin. It is also tied into a right-way shift of the aggregate demand curve so that equilibrium point move to the right with higher output and price. Increased output directly contribute to a national income increase. After all, when enterprise see growing demand, they naturally take on more hand and pay higher wage. This is not wake up their more money to more consumption demand, but by creating a multiplier effect as well, it jack up the economy further. Move to the next question. Aggregate supply takes the example of the Maidin plans to open up 3 new outlets in 2024 and Harvey Norman looking to open another 52 stores in Malaysia within the next 6 years. They plan to open new outlets which will enable them to directly produce and offer goods and services. This means a shift to the right in aggregate supply. Furthermore, increase in spending usually translate into higher future production. This is the reason for the investment in resources. Rising demand means higher profit for business. In such a situation, business might be encouraged to put labor and capital production, facility and technology enhance, add to aggregate supply, potentially producing shift in the AS curve. Aggregate demand is also determined by private consumption because it would increase consumer confidence and enlighten economic climate that comes with greater intake encourages consumer to be confident. which in turn leads them to spend more money and cause the eddy curve to shift upwards, thus reaching an equilibrium point. It also increases disposable income. For instance, China's open and commodity price patterns will immediately stretch their purchasing power due to the income effect, leading to a rightward shift of the eddy curve. For the next question, suppose the government of Malaysia increase government spending on medical and educational expense. Explain how the economy adjusts to the change in government spending. When the government of Malaysia boosts the allotment for public medical and educational items, the aggregate demand effect change demand side. Additional government spending throws more money into the economy, boosting demand wholesale. The surge in demand can push up intake rates for education and employment because business may now see a relevant increase in demand for their goods and service as well. This increased demand leads to expansion because business will have their goods and service bought. Expansion means more production, more hiring, and more investment. The increase in this figure lead to increase in the other. If demand outpaces supply, price may rise, and it can lead to inflation as a result. Increased spending on education can be a boost to educational quality, and workforce levels rise already had an impact on the labor market. In the question 5, answer the question based on table given. For the question 4a, find national income. National income equal to personal consumption expenditure plus government spending plus net export plus net factor income abroad minus indirect tax plus subsidy minus depreciation plus transfer payment plus dividend minus corporate tax equal to 250 plus 75 plus 60 minus 50 plus 4 minus 5 minus 20 plus 5 minus 50 plus 15 plus 4 minus 45 equal to 243 billion. Next, find disposable income. Disposable income equal to personal income minus personal income tax equal to 243 minus 60 equal to 183 billion.
Assalamualaikum and hi, my name is Nuri Adina Najihah binti Zairul Iwadi. My metric number is A22A0919. In this video, I'm going to present about case study number 3, which is inflation creeping up in the standard of living and economic growth. Question 1. Briefly discuss the inflation situation in January and February 2023. The inflation situation decreased from 3.8% in December 2022 to 3.7% in January and February 2023. The decrease in inflation rate is driven by the increase from the food and non-alcoholic beverage group, health, transportation, education, and the category of various goods and services. First, increase from the food and non-alcoholic beverage group. That is, in January 2023, the inflation for the food and non-alcoholic beverage group was only 6.7%, but it increased to 7.0% in February 2023. This may be due to the increase in the price of raw materials or change in terms of customer demand. Next, health is also a factor in reducing the inflation rate, which was in January 2023. Health inflation reached 1.6%, and by February 2023, it had risen to 1.8%. This is brought by rising healthcare expenses, advancement in medical technology, and others. Other than that, transportation inflation was 4.0% in January 2023 and decreased to 3.7% in February 2023 as a result of lower gasoline price or a preference among customers to use public transport rather than pay for their own. In the meantime, education is also a factor in the decrease in inflation. That is, the reason for the increase in inflation from 1.3% in January 2023 to 1.6% in February 2023 is the rising cost of educational supplies, the operational expenses of educational institutions, and more. Last but not least, the category of various goods and services is also a factor in reducing the inflation rate. In January 2023, inflation for the category of goods and services was 2.3% and it increased to 2.5% in February 2023. This is due to the price increase in various goods and services. Question 2. Based on your opinion, what are the initiatives of the government to help the B40 group to increase their standard of living? Based on my opinion, the initiative of the government to help the B40 group to increase their standard of living is the improvement to the Housewife Social Security Scheme (SKSSR), which provides coverage extending to illness and invalidity with only RM120 per year or RM10 per month. This initiative can help the B40 group in reducing the financial burden, such as medical costs and daily needs. Next, the government can also do affordable housing project. That is, the government provides affordable housing to the B40 group to reduce the long-term financial burden, which can indirectly reduce the number of homeless people in our country, and this housing should be offered to the B40 group only. Okay, next, providing affordable or subsidized public transport facility for the B40 group. This can help the B40 groups in terms of reducing the cost of personal transport and can help the B40 group to attend school or office without facing financial transport problem, as well as encourage people to use public transport and support the country's economic mobility. Last but not least, the government can also increase the minimum wage of workers. That is, the minimum wage for every worker in Malaysia for the time being is only RM1,500. If the minimum wage is increased to 2,600 and above, it can help maintain the purchasing power of B40 group as well as the guaranteed cost of living, because as the year increase, the price of goods in the market becomes more expensive. Question 3. Differentiate between short-run full capacity and long-run full employment. Short-run full capacity and long-run full employment are two key concepts in economics that relate to the use of resource and the overall level of economic activity. Short-run full capacity refers to the level of production or use of economic resource where the economy operates at the maximum rate of consumption in a short period of time. This short-run capacity occurs when the economy faces the problem of labor shortage, increased inflation, and so on. One example of short-run full capacity mentioned in the article is flooding. The floods that hit the East Coast state have created short-run difficulties because they had a quick impact and required action and assistance in a short period of time. In fact, flood also causes great losses in terms of property damage, daily life difficulties, and the local economy is also affected. Long-run full employment refers to the maximum level of use of economic resource in long period of time. This long-run full employment involves economic and social challenges that require long-term solution and change. An example mentioned in the article is that Bank Negara has proposed a living wage benchmark of RM2,600 in 2018. This is a long-term effort that can be done to overcome the issue of low income. In fact, if it is implemented early, it can help the people to save a lot in a short period of time, because when the spread of the COVID-19 epidemic occurred, 1/5 of the households from the M40 group has fallen into the B40 group. This is due to income increase since the epidemic for the B40 group is much smaller in absolute amount compared to the high income group. Question 4. Using an appropriate diagram, analyze how an improvement in technology affects the equilibrium output and price level of economy. Technological improvement leads to lower production costs, so when production costs are low, producers are more likely to produce and offer larger quantities of material at existing price levels such as P0. This increase in supply causes the aggregate supply curve to shift to the right from AS0 to AS1. This shift indicates that the economy can produce a higher level of output at any level of price. Question 5. Using the aggregate demand and short-run aggregate supply model, analyze the impact on the equilibrium output and price level and price for each of the following. A. An increase in consumption due to higher income. The original national income equilibrium is reached at point E0 where the AD0 curve intersects with the SRAS curve at the price level P0 and real national income Y0. An increase in consumption due to higher income, such as from low-income groups, can have a large impact on the demand curve and supply curve in the market. When a low-income group experiences an increase in income, the demand curve will shift to the right from AD0 to AD1 and cause a new equilibrium point to be reached at E1 when the demand curve AD1 intersects the SRAS curve at price level P1 and national income Y1. This is due to the increase in the quantity of goods and services requested at each price, because previously low-income group may be limited in purchasing due to their small income. B. A higher wage rate for all workers. The original national income equilibrium is reached at point E0 where the AD0 curve intersects with the SRAS0 curve at the price level P0 and real national income Y0. A higher wage rate for all workers will cause the demand curve to shift to the right from AD0 to AD1. It reflects the increased purchasing power of workers to buy more goods and services at each price. But this increase in higher wage rates will cause the supply curve to face challenges as producers need to adjust their operation, including increasing product capacity and adding more workers. Because of this, a new equilibrium point is reached, which is E1 when the SRAS1 curve intersects with the AD1 curve at the price level of P1 and national income Y1, and it also made the SRAS curve shift to the left from SRAS0 to SRAS1. C. An increase in government spending due to the implementation of expansionary fiscal policy. The original national income equilibrium is reached at point E0 where the AD0 curve intersects with the AS0 curve at the price level P0 and real national income Y0. Expansionary fiscal policy increases government spending and reduces tax or both simultaneously and increases AD. The AD curve shifts to the left from AD0 to AD1. The increase in AD causes the national income balance to be reached at point E1 where the AS0 intersects with AD1. The problem of starvation can be overcome when employment increases as a result to increase in Y0 to Y1. However, the economy faces inflationary pressure when the price level rise from P0 to P1. D. Tsunami destroyed most of the factories located along the coastline. The original national income equilibrium is reached at point E0 where the AD curve intersect with the SRAS0 curve at the price level P0 and real national income Y0. The tsunami that hit destroyed most of the factories located along the coast at the same time, causing a supply shock as well as a cost shock because the factories were no longer able to produce supply. This causes the SRAS curve to shift to the left from SRAS0 to SRAS1 due to the reduced supply caused by the destruction of factories. This leads to an increase in price level from P0 to P1. A new equilibrium is reached at E1 with national income level Y1 if there is no change in interest rate. That's all from me. Thank you.
Okay, for question number 1, what is inflation rate? An inflation rate is a change in a percentage of the general price level of goods and services in an economy over a specific time. As mentioned in the article, the consumer index increased by 3.2% in December 2021. Therefore, the inflation rate is 3.2%. Okay, next I will explain on how to calculate the inflation rate with an example. So the inflation rate can be calculated by using the formula of CPI in current year minus by CPI in previous year and then divided by CPI in previous year and times by 100. Okay, for example, if the CPI in 2022 was 150 and the CPI in 2021 was 130, the inflation rate would be 150 minus by 130 and divided by 130 and times by 100. So we will get the answer, which is 15.38%. Next, what caused inflation in the domestic market? Okay, as mentioned in the article, most of the increase in the prices of goods and services in the domestic market can be contributed to the specific components, such as the transport sector increase of 9.5%, housing, water, electricity, gas and other fuels increased 3.4%, and food and non-alcoholic beverages increased 3.2%. Okay, next, producers have faced challenges in securing an adequate supply for raw materials to meet the increased demand. On a global scale, higher price levels primarily driven not only by increased demand but also by elevated fuel costs that lead to a surge in production expenses. Okay, next, what type of inflation happens in China and the United States? Okay, the article mentioned that an energy crisis impacting both China and the United States that caused increase in price level. This situation derived from cost-push inflation, which is a situation where higher production costs, especially from an increase in energy expenses, play a significant role in driving overall inflation pressure. In this case, the energy crisis is a compounding factor that worsening the challenges faced by the producer and contributing to the broader economic issue of increasing prices. Okay, next I will explain how economic policy could be used and how the implementation of the policy will change a price level. Okay, the policy that have been mentioned in the article is fiscal policies and monetary policies. Okay, so for fiscal policies, an appropriate short-term action plan such as tax incentive for companies and one-off tax exemption can be considered to absorb and offset the effect of inflation by reducing cash flow pressure on producer. Okay, next, subsidy mechanism based on productivity can be considered to ensure producers to have the push to produce their product in the local market. Okay, for monetary policies, more flexible financial financing needs to be provided to industrial drivers. Such as providing a support to businesses, especially the small and medium enterprise (SME) sectors. We will move to the question number 4, which is who benefit from inflation. Okay, a party who got a benefit through inflation is debtors. It is because as the real value of their debt decrease over time, borrowers that with fixed rate loans will find it is easier to repay the loans in the future with money that is less valuable than when they borrow it, while creditors and those who hold an asset like cash will lose purchasing power as the value of money decrease. Okay, lastly, we are going to discuss the reason why inflation is a problem for an economy. Okay, firstly, inflation can reduce the purchasing power, which is inflation decreases the purchasing power of money that can lead to the decrease in the standard of living and those who got a fixed income. Okay, the second one, income redistribution. Inflation can cause an income redistribution as it keeps favoring to debtors over creditors and those who with flexible income over those with fixed income. Okay, the last one is increasing in interest rate. During inflation, the central bank will increase the interest rate, which can affect the borrowing costs, investment, and economic growth.
Hi, my name is Adina binti Nizam. I will present case study 5, Women's Involvement in Labour Force Participation Rate. For question 1, the labour force participation rate, I use the formula labour force over civilian non-institutional population times 100. And for the unemployment rate, the formula is number of unemployed over number of labour force times 100. For the question 2, between 2012 and 2015, Malaysian women's labour force participation increased but remained notably lower than men, narrowing from 49.55% to 54.24%, while both genders experienced fluctuating unemployment rates. Women consistently had higher rates, 3.16% in 2012 to 3.15% in 2015, compared to men, whose rates remain relatively steady. Overall, there is progress in enhancing women's labour market participation and reducing unemployment, yet a significant gender disparity persists, underscoring persistent issues of gender inequality in Malaysia's labour economy. For the question 3, several factors contribute to the increased participation of Malaysian women in the labour market. Improved access to education has equipped women with diverse skills, enabling a broader range of job opportunities. Evolving cultural attitudes towards gender roles have fostered greater acceptance of women in unconventional occupations, fostering inclusivity in the workforce. Economic concerns, including rising living costs, have driven the need for dual incomes, motivating more women to seek employment for financial security. Government policies promoting gender equality, such as maternity leave and flexible work arrangements, facilitate women's entry and retention in the workforce. Technological advances, like remote work options, provide women flexibility in managing job and family commitments. Changing expectations, influenced by global movements for women's rights, have led to more women actively pursuing professional advancement. The growing participation of women in the Malaysian workforce reflects a complex interplay of educational, social, economic and cultural elements, signaling a positive trend towards gender inclusion in the labour market.
Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Anissa binti Kamarudin. My metric number A22B0106. So I want to discuss about the case study seat, tarif affecting Australian agriculture export. First, what the kind of tarif has been imposed. Based on the article, the type of tarif that Indian has imposed on the export of Australian agriculture product is an ad-variant tarif. This ad-variant tarif imposed on import based on the value of the import. For example, if Indian impose 50% tarif on cherry, then 100 worth of cherry will be subject to a total tax 50. So ad-variant tarif is based on the value of the goods. This give benefit to India. So the second question, what will be the ramification of the Indian slapping a tax on Australian agriculture export? There has been some ramification of Indian slapping a tax on Australian agriculture export, which is impact on the producer price index (PPI) for fresh fruit and melon has fallen, which has a negative impact on the agriculture profit. In addition, government intervention, the Australia had to buy the supply commodity to stabilize the market. Following this purchase, the HIPR for fresh fruit and melon increased again. With the existence of this tarif tax, it creates a dumping problem for Australia agriculture export because the demand for this export good is less well received from India. Based on the question 3, using the approach diagram, examine the effect of tarif on Australian trade. How has reflection? So based on the tarif curve, the tarif occurred at P1, P2, which had led to a decrease in import Q4, Q1, where Australian producers supply Q1 and consumer demand Q4, where the tarif where imposed price in Indian increase and Australian experienced a decrease. However, the tarif rate imposed these two countries at the same where Australian producers supply Q2 and Indian consumer demand Q3, which is cost import of Q3 and Q2. Therefore, the welfare effect of the tarif on producer in this country of Australia that experience a reduction in tarif. This is due the price of their product in their own market, resulting in excess production in the industry, which is drive down their profit. However, it do not have any effect on the revenue of the government of the exporting country. So the last question, based on the above article, evaluate and critically analysis the benefit and drawback of international trade. Based on the article, the benefit of international trade is being able to increase the country economic growth, increase export and import. With trade with other country, it will be further increase the country growth rate. This is because international trade with the flow of goods and service as done by Australian and Indians can bring benefit to both countries as well as other countries, where it benefit both parties. So that is expanding the market due the international trade allow excess supply in the country to be export abroad. This is because the international market is wider than the local market. This can be seen through the article down between Australia and India. With this international trade, the market country will gain higher profit and increase the national income. In addition, the drawback of international trade is a restriction of international trade due to the foreign trade policy by the government control export and imports. Through the international trade restriction, the government will impose aberrant tariff like India has done on Australia. This tariff is import tax imposed on goods imported from abroad, which is calculated based on the price of important goods. This will have impact on Australia because it has to pay the higher tariff. However, it brings an advantage to India. This drawback in international trade create a dumping problem. This happened to Australia, which is caused them to have to buy the supply commodity to reduce the impact of their farmer. This is because the India has imposed tariff on fruit export from Australia. Therefore, it had impact on the Australia country because they had to buy the available fruit down to avoid the impact of their farmers. So that's all for me. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Nurul Shahida Binti Azam. I do the study 7, which is probe into bicycle dumping from abroad. What is the meaning of the dumping? Dumping refers to the practice of the exporting goods to another country at a lower price than their normal value, often below the cost production. This can lead to adverse effect on the domestic industry of the importer country, such as undercutting local price and causing material injury to domestic producer. Hi, I'm Nurul Shahida Binti Azam. Number 2, true reason why the foreign firm dump their bicycle in Malaysia. Reason number 1, market expansion. Foreign enterprise may use dumping to rapidly develop their market share in Malaysia, seizing a sizable piece of the local market by supplying bicycle at a cheaper rate than domestic competitor. Reason number 2, supply production. Foreign company may dumping a bicycle in Malaysia if they have extra inventory or manufacturing capacity and selling at the lower price in the Malaysian market is one approach to offload supply commodities. Number 3 is dumping viewed as an unfair act. Yes, dumping is considered an unfair trade practice since it can undermine domestic industry by creating an unequal playing field. Foreign enterprise may accrue an unfair competitive advantage by selling their product at a lower than normal price, resulting in market distortion and a detrimental impact on domestic manufacture. Number 3 is dumping viewed as. Number 4 is explain true effect of such a dumping on local bicycle production. Effects number 1 is price undercutting. Dumping will result in imported bicycle being sold in the Malaysian market at a cheaper price than those given by local market. Price undercutting might cause domestic company to lose market share. Effects number 2 is loss of sale. Increased competition from discharged bicycle might cause a drop in sale for local market, reducing income and profitability. This drop in sale can be especially distributed if it drive domestic production out of business. Number 5 is explain industry measures that the Malaysian government can take to eliminate dumping as the mentioned in the last paragraph. Number 1, anti-dumping duty. The government may apply anti-dumping charge on the import bicycle equivalent to the margin by which the export price is less than the normal values. This level the playing field and protect the domestic production. Number 2, negotiation and agreement. Engaging in conversation with exporting nations such as China and Hong Kong to solve the issue through negotiation and trade agreement can be a diplomatic solution to the problem. Number 3 is conducting investigation. The government should launch a thorough inquiry to assess the scope of the dumping operation and their impact on the local bicycle sector. This would entail analyzing import statistic price pattern and market share movement. This investigation will provide the evidence required to justify anti-dumping action and guarantee their successful implementation. Number 5 is explain any three measures that the Malaysia government can take to eliminate dumping as the mentioned in the last paragraph. Number 1, anti-dumping duty. The government may apply anti-dumping charge on the import bicycle in